Hello and welcome to Shmu in Focus, a new podcast series that delves beneath the surface of issues important to our communities. In this series, we're exploring mental health in Aberdeen. We'll be sharing experiences, talking to communities, hearing from organisations and challenging stigma. In this episode, we are diving deep into men's mental health, and today I am joined by a full studio. I'll let these guys introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Danny from Men in Mind.
I'm John Smith from Bridgedown and District Men's Shed.
And I'm Kyle, I'm from AFC Community Trust.
I'm Bob, I'm from Andy's Man Club.
I'm Barry, I'm from the Kickabout Aberdeen.
I'm Stephen, I'm from the Kickabout Aberdeen.
And we've also got another two in the background here as well. We'll wheel them in later on as well. But the Scottish Government highlights both poverty and social exclusion can significantly impact mental well-being. Also seen this in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, millions of people experiencing loneliness. Is this something you're seeing in your organisations? I'll start start with you in the corner.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly been a recurring theme. I think a lot of the guys that come to Men in Mind have felt that they kind of open up about their experiences with the stigma that's attached. I think there's obviously the kind of societal pressures of kind of man up and that kind of older generation, but what we've tend to find at Men in Mind are kind of round robins that we do round the table, that there's no obligation to speak about what's on your mind, and it's very much kind of optional for the guys to speak about. But we tend to find that once they hear one or two people being open, certainly like the facilitators like myself, Andy, Paul and Callum starting off, it tends to go round and people tend to get things off their chest.
Yeah.
But one of the recurring themes was loneliness, again, kind of family pressures, work pressures, a lot of people dealing with, a few of the guys dealing with like going up through divorces, breakups, heartbreaks, bereavement as well, and just trying to get through the day. You can see it when at the meetings when they get things off their chest. And there's been a number of guys. There was one guy in particular that came along at our first meeting. He was in the car for about 20 minutes and he was from down south and doesn't have a lot of friends up here. He's got his family and his wife and his kid, but from the first meeting to 6 weeks in, he's like a different person. He's got so much more confidence. He's got a bit more about him when he's coming in. He's speaking to the guys, and it's really good to see. But loneliness, I think, is I guess it kind of ties in with being depressed. You know, it's like well,
I think the thing with COVID as well, a lot of people were, and especially people on their own, was to tight their houses. They could only go out for an hour or so a day. They weren't seeing friends, they weren't seeing family. So that all adds to stress, it adds to pressure as well. So I mean, I've known that because I've been involved with the AFCCT as well, and I've seen the changing room operation as well, and that's exactly the same things that you were saying about social isolation and people coming in and people not wanting to speak. And I think that organisations like yourselves are brilliant for people to come in and do everything in their own time.
But depression is a lonely place to be, and you feel like. For myself, I suffered in 2019. I had a huge breakdown at work, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And it was like, what's wrong with me? And I hate to say this as well, but I was one of those guys that, depressed. Before going through it myself, like thinking to myself, oh, it's just another term for being sad. But it's so much more. It's like the crippling loneliness.
Common story, that though, isn't it?
It is, and it's like the rumination that comes with depression as well. You think of situations in your head which aren't true, and it's this negative self-talk that comes with it as well, and it's just a perpetual negative cycle that you kind of it's very hard to break on your own. But you understand with groups like Men in Mind and the rest of the guys here as well that's doing this, it's a big thing. You're not the only one suffering.
No,
and there's so much commonalities within the group that. Just it's you can see it with people. There's a lot of similarities, and you can relate to a lot of the guys of what they're going through.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because
you've maybe been there yourself, or you maybe a family member or that. But as men, we didn't speak about it.
No, but the thing is that, and one of the things we're trying to get out in this podcast as well, but there is organisations to help. There's so many organisations now that the people didn't need to suffer in silence. Have you found that the same as the Bridget Dawn Man's Club? You're getting people like that as well, coming into social isolation and loneliness.
Yeah, we have a real mixture of guys that come in, and we'll provide lots of different activities for them, either social stuff like playing games like pool or working in the workshops or gardening. But we've got a real mixture of guys. We've got guys who have got health issues, cancer people, Parkinson's, strokes, but guys that have been just desperately lonely.
Yeah.
For two reasons. Some of them been widowed, others have just been retired, and then they're at a complete loose end. And they go through this period as just lost. Some of them have got depression, some of them have turned to drink. So we've had quite a few guys that have had alcohol-related problems, and that's just compounded this whole feeling of what they're going to do now, because they've got nothing structured to do in their life, and they come to us, and it takes them a wee while to get themselves going. But because we try and create a friendly social atmosphere where there's we don't try not to talk about politics and stuff like that or any other things that get people down, and we just focus on doing other stuff in the community.
Yeah.
And it rehabilitates people.
Exactly, yeah.
And amongst themselves, not just rehabilitates them in the community, but they find they've got friends, and they see it as not as a substitute for their work, but as a social place to come, cheer themselves up a bit. And we have guys who have lapses, and they sort of fall back in on themselves, but we're always phoning them up to see if they're okay.
Yeah.
Making sure that, come back. And we've got a few guys who have sort of says, well, I just can't come back because I'm not in the right place. You think, well, no, this might be the right place for you.
Yeah.
Just come in amongst it again, and then you find that it takes me a while, but some people are a wee bit more self-starting. They just come in and just get going. Other guys take a wee bit of time, a wee bit more encouragement. And what we've found as well is that the guys that have been there a while, or maybe come through the thing themselves, they sort of go along and they befriend these guys because they can see within the men a wee bit of themselves, and they help out.
Exactly. And also, and I'll get to come to you, Kyle, on this one as well, because I know at the changing room that you've got guys that started off as participants and are now delivering the course as well, and that's quite important as well for people to have the confidence to come in sort of maybe despair, and coming in and getting the confidence to share their experiences and come and deliver the course as well.
Yep, it's not only that. We've got guys that come in, and yes, we've got guys that come back and want to come back as facilitators and participants and volunteers with that programme and other programmes as well that we deliver. So it's just that giving something back into the community. Just outside of just coming and delivering and being part of sessions as well, what we've seen is a massive transformation in individuals that have stood on the stage and talked about mental health at their work.
Yeah.
We've done things in the past where everything's always a choice, but we'll do like the odd photo here and there, very seldomly, but like Sam H come up and deliver their section, or we've got Mike Scotland, community cleanup and Man Up Speak Up comes along and delivers his part in a session. He'll sometimes want to take a photo for his sort of social side of things as well. And we've got guys that absolutely step back and just, no, I don't want to be part of that, and that's absolutely fine. It's a judgment-free zone, and if you're not ready to put your face out there and a direct link with something around men's mental health or whatever that may be, they opt out of that. And then what we see is over the course of the programme, and coming into a group of men that's 40 some strong in terms of like a WhatsApp group, and just pulling each other and supporting each other, and in a positive way, we see them going and standing on stage and talking at big conferences about mental health in the workplace, and we see them going and challenging their workplace environment in terms of the stigma, in terms of like what they actually do. Are they just one of those sort of organisations that say that they're doing things for mental health, but they're not actively doing anything? They're simply ticking a box. So we're getting that sort of change. And just coming back to the topic, the stigma and that men don't talk, we do a thing down in Hampden every year where we bring all the cohorts, all the hundreds of men across Scotland, kind of all together across clubs, which is always interesting, putting Aberdeen fans next to Rangers fans and actually seeing that they've got that commonality in mental health, and we see ex-soccer casuals actually befriending one another, which is absolutely incredible to see. But we go there and Robert, who's high up in terms of organising the SAMH side of things from a physical participation and how that links to our mental health, he always says that men do talk if the environment's right.
Yeah.
And I've seen that time and time again, and I'm not just talking about changing rooms. I've seen some of these other organisations in action. I've seen what they do. I've spoke to people that have been to these things, and I think that's also when you were talking a little bit about guys stepping away from a situation and saying that's not right for me at this moment in time. We've always been very open in saying, you know what, you've came to us, this doesn't feel like a right thing for you because it's maybe more football focused than you thought it was. Have you tried these guys? And it's just what I think is really important is within us in a room is never leaving a guy just walking out the door. It's signpost them to each other, because it might be that they need something a little bit more in terms of intervention. A Tuesday night's maybe not enough. Maybe they need a Tuesday and a Monday and a Thursday or whatever it may be. But it's about making sure that environment's right, and men absolutely do talk.
That's brilliant. Do you find that when they come into your environment that people will be quiet to start off with, and some people won't speak, but that's okay because you can just leave them just to find their own level?
Yeah, we find at Andy's Man Club that the first person that comes through the door, if you like, is often very quiet and maybe stand outside for 5 minutes before he even crosses the threshold. But that's okay. If he comes in, that's the first step. That's the important step. He meets some people, he has a cup of coffee, and maybe after he's had his cup of coffee, he chats with somebody else, and then he's ready to open up. If he's not, then that's not a problem. He can come again next week or the week after. Everybody's got a different problem. Problem shared is a problem halved kind of deal. And certainly that's what we find is that people talk and they're always happy to listen. And I think listening's important as well as talking.
Oh, definitely.
And, yeah.
I think the other thing about it is what I was going to say about, do you guys, because I know that Kyle's group's got a WhatsApp group that everybody keeps in contact with. Have you guys got that as well?
Yeah, we've got it's called the banter group.
Oh.
Just to keep everybody.
I can imagine one of them.
We had to make two ups there. One where they keep on a proper prim because we've got charity status, so we kept that as a proper one, and the banter one was just for everybody else to let loose and everything. But yeah, the same as these guys, and we found that people come along to our sessions on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. Just they just don't know what to do, and obviously we get ourselves into the teams and we start just it's a kickabout. That's why we're named, and we get them speaking. And we found that unlike some of these groups where people speak on the sidelines, so when they're off as a sub, they'll start speaking to each other and they'll get to know each other. And we found that way people were speaking more rather than sitting around a table, so to speak, and everybody looking at each other. Whereas you're only with one or two people at a time, then you're away. Then you come back, that person's gone, and you're speaking to someone else because there's different subs. So yeah, they come and they're just kind of like a rabbit in the headlights to start with.
Yeah,
but you can
definitely
see that after the same as the guys, after a couple of sessions, people get into it. And as Stephen was one of our guys, and obviously he's now part of the captain set up to help us. Like so, it's good.
I was going to add in that you were saying about people being lonely, and I've got one or two people in mind that you can tell by the chat that they'll look forward to their Tuesday night or their Wednesday night because it's the only thing that they have in their, apart from seeing their child maybe once or twice a week, that's the only thing that they've got to look forward to.
Yeah,
is just coming along and having a kick about and having a laugh, a little bit of camaraderie with the guys.
Yeah, I think that one of the misconceptions is the people think that you go in there, you sit in a circle of people and you just confess your sins, and it's not like that at all. We need to debunk this thing because that kind of puts people off as well. That's what we talked about before, and I suppose that's the same with you guys as well. It's just, I mean, the walk and talks which I did with Sam H when I did the training, it's so powerful that when you're and people are saying what's walk and talk, we're just walking and talking. It's as simple as that. You're not facing MD, you're just talking about it. It's like, just imagine you're sitting driving a car and somebody's sitting in the passenger seat. You get more chat that way than you do with sitting face to face. Do you find that as well?
Yeah, I think before the meetings are some guys, certainly the new guys that kind of come in are very timid. They'll get a coffee, they'll get a biscuit, and they'll sit down, and we as facilitators and some of the regular guys tend to kind of go over and introduce ourselves and try and make them feel comfortable. But throughout the meeting, you've got the ball, to speak, but it's very open. So if somebody's going through a certain problem, for instance, you know, certain work pressures, or if it's, you know, kind of going through kind of separation or divorce, or if it's, it doesn't matter what the problem is, there's guys within the room, and we kind of just say, end up speaking, this has been my experience, and can understand where you are in this moment, but things do get better, and you just got to kind of keep working at it.
Yeah.
I feel
So
that everybody's did something that person's going through, and everybody helps.
there's a lot of commonality. There's
Yeah.
a lot of commonality with it, and there's a lot of guys that have been through the mill or are going through the mill, and they're on similar stages, and it's almost like it's like I've said to the guys, it very much like a brother in arms. It's very much brothers in arms, like in the group, and it's when you've got the kind of ball, as facilitators, Andy will tell you, sometimes you need to say, right, okay, keep the ball moving, guys, sort of thing, because there's one topic that there's a few guys with struggling, and you kind of tend to hone in on that, and you leave it to a degree, but you're consciously aware that there's other people maybe going through something different that kind of relates, so you need to give them the time as well. So we just we've kind of found that works very well, because then everybody feels heard, and everybody feels like they're
And that's
contributing and
important
helping as well,
Yeah.
you know.
And the thing with people walking over the doors for the first time, a lot of people think, I'm the only one, you know, going through this, and that's been proved in a lot of things like that. That people think, I'm struggling, I'm the only one. When they go there and they find people, and as you see, a lot of commonalities and got the same things, it's earth-shattering for them as well, because they know that they're not alone and they're finding a common ground.
Yeah, very much so. But I mean, I think with depression, you know, myself, like when I went through it, you know, you do feel completely alone. You're surrounded by your family, your friends, and those that love you, but you feel completely alone. And at times it's very dangerous. Like, you know, isolation and solitude is a dangerous thing. It has its place to try and gather your thoughts and try and kind of, to a degree, but sitting and ruminating in that too long can be a very dangerous thing, and it's better to get around guys of a similar ilk to yourself who are struggling, to speak. And there's no, as I said before, there's no obligation to speak. You can sit and just listen, you know. But we've tend to found that there's guys that you think, oh, there's no way he's going to speak tonight, his head's doing, he's there, anything. But as facilitators, we're very conscious. We're watching around the room and think, okay, he's normally quite open, he hasn't said anything tonight. And then a little bit of the break, you say, how's it going, and you doing all right, how's things, how's your week been, sort of thing. Just trying to a degree coax them to try and speak to you. If it's one-on-one, they're wanting to speak to you, you know. And it's but yeah, you do feel it's that thing where you feel completely alone, and lost in this kind of sea of desperation. And then sometimes you're a man in between two worlds, like, you know.
Aberdeen, according to statistics, I don't know who wants to pick this one up. According to statistics from the National Records of Scotland, men account for, this is incredible, 71% of suicides in Scotland in 2020. For every year since 1985, more than 70% of people dying from suicide have been male. Do you think there's any specific challenges facing men with mental health and well-being? Anybody want to pick up that one?
I would say there's a big thing about it, because obviously going back, the man's supposed to be there to provide, supposed to be there to support. He was supposed to be the rock, and times have changed now. People are realising that that's not always been the case, and years gone by, suicide and mental health and depression just got wiped under the carpet. It wasn't something that was spoken about a lot, and now it's taken a lot, as you say, the statistics don't lie, it's taken a lot for it to come to the forefront of the news, and it's terrible that start actually to be there. But yeah, you can see that it's going to come, it had to come ahead at some point, because as much as we're all men here and we all like to think that we can stand up strong, we all suffer, whether someone's suffering at the top or at the bottom of that ladder, you suffer every day.
Yeah.
And as some people just go too far and they just can't seem to get the help, and it's like groups like ourselves that we want them to come and help them. Like,
I think also that women have had a better network. No, they've grown up with kids, they've had their toddlers groups, they've had that, and they've created like networks, and it's good. Men don't really have that. Men have gone to work, they've had the guys at work they work with, they've probably never discussed the kind of problems that we're talking about here, and there's a lot of solitude involved in it, because they can't really share it because they've not got like one of these, unless they've got a sort of best friend that's that close that will speak about it. But in general, they don't have that network of groups that women have built up through their lives, and I think that's what our groups are providing. They're now providing that network, maybe a wee bit late in their life, but it's now building up there. And I think a lot of people haven't really realised that men have actually had to cope with these things on their own.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And you was talking there about depression as well, and that's the start of it, isn't it? I mean, that's the people get depression, and you think, talk to somebody, just you'll be okay, just it'll man up. That was the word that used to be used as well, which is a lot of rubbish, to be honest with you. But I think we're getting your groups and people who might feel like that, might feel depression, might feel suicidal, and coming along and speaking to people. I mean, it saves lives, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, it does. I think there's a number of, the groups are certainly a big thing. And I read a stat the other day. It was 12 men in the UK commit suicide every day, and it's 1 every 2 hours. Like,
that's incredible stats.
It's 1 every 2 hours. Like, and you've got to think to yourself, well, why is that happening? Why is that happening? And is it because there's this pressure on men to just get on with it, keep your head down, get on with it, you'll be all right. And I know from my experience, like, I don't mind talking out a bit about my experience, but I remember the breakdown I had, and I was putting so much pressure on myself, working a job and trying to knock your pan in, trying to provide, never feeling good enough, and didn't feel it was enough. Always wanted to kind of push and want to put too much pressure on myself, and that's the thing.
Did you find also that you was taking your stress home for work into your home life as well?
To a degree, aye. Yeah. And it came to a point for me one weekend where I just broke down, ruining the kids and that, and it wasn't good,
No.
And I knew there was something wrong. And I said to myself, I'll go to the doctor on Monday. I'll phone the doctor on Monday. But I remember not phoning the doctor on Monday and just going to work as normal and just saying, we'll carry on. But that whole journey from my house driving to my work, I must have broke down about 4 or 5 times, and then compose yourself in the car park, go into work, and the guys I work with knew I was summing up straight away, and then you're trying to cover that. I run to the toilet, try to break down again, couldn't do it. Boss was in the toilet, and then was away to go into a meeting, and then just in a meeting with 3 other guys, just broke down.
Yeah.
And they're like, Jesus, what's wrong? Like, but it just got too much. It just got too much, and it's just like, I can't do this anymore. And it was like depression, or it's like you need deep rest.
Yeah.
Because depression, you're depressing.
Yeah.
You've got to kind of depress and just think, well, I'm done. I need to kind of sort myself out here, and fit I need to do to take action steps. And the best thing to do is to ask for help, whether that's through groups, going to your doctor, getting yourself out. I think kind of taking action. For me, what I found really helped me was journaling.
All right, okay.
And what we do with the guys is we've got journals, Men at Mind. Tell them I've actually got Andy into journaling as well when he was when he was toiling as well. I think journaling gives you a grounding in the present, a reference point of the past to look back and hope for the future. And that's what I found with journaling. It really, really helped me. It doesn't matter if you write a couple of words or if you write a couple of pages. It's just getting what's out in your head onto paper.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to make sense at the time, or it doesn't need to make sense at all. It's just to get it out, and it's almost like
that's a
very
brilliant idea,
cathartic,
actually. Yeah, it is.
Very
Like a relief,
cathartic.
like a relief
Aye,
to get
just to get it out
I-
in paper.
I find that, speaking from my experience, and I know speaking to someone quite close to me, that they've had similar thoughts, but you don't realise you're starting to spiral, or you start having negative thoughts. And I've been at work, and it's, if I just fall down the stairs and break my leg, I can get off work for 6 weeks, 8 weeks. I've had thoughts of, if I crash my car into this wall, not going to kill myself, but even if I just have a crash, then I can go, I'll be okay, but I could be off work for a few weeks. And it wasn't until I started talking to someone, they says, that's the sign of Like you start to spiral down. You're having negative thoughts. It surprised me, but it makes sense now. I'm a teacher, and I was teaching PE, and there was one class I couldn't handle. I had to phone for the head teacher, and I walked out the class, and I'd said to her, well, I was on the verge of walking out the school, and now I didn't know I was at that point until it hit me, and then had time out, and then the next day, that was when that was my breakdown. And like you, I was in the car crying.
It's like a pressure cooker and all
Yeah.
that, and it just comes up. But I found as well, it's like the negative thoughts turn into negative self-talk as well, and it's trying to beat that. And I found labelling it, that's a bully within you. You wouldn't speak to your friends, or you wouldn't speak to anybody else like that. So why are you treating yourself like that?
Yeah.
And it's a bully with you. And I find if you label it and say, no, if you get this feelings of self-doubt, or like your self-worth, you're nae up to much, why you nae doing this, or why are you feeling like this, you shouldn't be feeling like this, that's a bully in you. And you've got to kind of label it and say, that is a bully.
So you're berating yourself.
You're berating yourself, but it's the bully within you.
Yeah.
And it's that negative self-talk, and you've got to say, no, that's a bully within me. I wouldn't speak to other people like that, so why am I speaking to myself like that?
It's if you think yourself as a facilitator, and you listen to others, or even just as a person, and you listen to your friends, it's a stigma. It's you apply that stigma to yourself. You wouldn't apply it to somebody else.
No.
You'd give them all the time in the day, and you'd listen, and you'd be empathetic, and you'd understand. But we're our own harshest critics.
Absolutely.
And we will absolutely continuously, like I've kept mental health since about the age of 8, and I was actually going to interrupt and ask if I could ask a question. So most of us in the room are probably aware of who SAMH are, and obviously they've just gone through a bit of a rebranding and almost a renaming from Scottish Association to Mental Health to Scottish Action for Mental Health. Does anybody in the room know how old SAMH is?
No.
When we started talking on this topic, we started speaking about things like, this is all new.
Yeah.
SAMH is 100 years old last year.
That's incredible.
It's 100 years old that we've had an organisation in Scotland fighting for mental health. If you think about 100 years ago where we were, what was it? It was post-war. So it makes a lot of sense as to where it came from.
Yeah.
But it just shows you in 100 years how much progress have we made on tackling that stigma.
Well,
And
absolutely.
how many of those men that you started this topic off on, if we were a little bit further down the line, wouldn't have taken their own lives.
On another note there, when you're just saying about how old SAMH is, not a lot of people know what SAMH is. So for the last 85, 90 years, it's been under the radar, it's not been spoken about,
That's a fair point.
and it's like now it's only in the last 10, 15 years where it's starting to come to the forefront. So the amazing, we did work for SAMH as well, and the amazing people there, like, but I honestly didn't realise it was 100-year-old. Like, it just shows you that pre-15 years ago, this was just like no one spoke about it.
Well, that's the thing. That's
Wow.
two stories, and you'd got to practically rock bottom before you realised there was something wrong. Do you find that yourself as well, or why is that for men? Why do men do that when women will probably go and ask for help quicker than that?
Well, I think that was a point that John made, was that women have this social circle from very young age, which men don't have. You know, you grow up, you maybe play football, you're in a football club, you've got that spirit. You then kind of drift away from that when you go to work, because you've got the priority of earning money. That's your focus. For myself, I'm retired now, I'm a bit younger than most of you guys. Once you leave your work, you've lost that social contact, which is a big thing for men. You know, you don't know the guys that you went to school with anymore, they've gone. You don't know the guys that you were working with, they've gone.
That's right.
You know, you're on your own, and you know, it's a big bad world.
Yeah, I found that as well when I was getting really stressed out at work, and I took early retirement. And if I hadn't thrown myself into volunteering here and volunteering doing at AFCCT, I'd have been in that situation as well, because my wife works, my daughter's at university, I'd be sitting at home all day just twiddling my thumbs, wondering what to do with myself. And that's dangerous, that. It's very dangerous, that.
Well, I can certainly relate to that. I mean, I took early retirement, if you like, and I got so bored I went back to work. Now, how sad is that? And, work was just not what I remembered it to be. The office politics just did my head in. I just could not stand it, and it was just so frustrating. But, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that worries me is that we've got this sandwich 100 years. Mental health had been known about, but for people to get to these organisations early enough, and it appears to me that all the organisations that we're involved in, they're all been self-starter groups.
Yeah.
Haven't been organised by somebody else. You've got very little help from local authorities or governments. You've just done it off your own back to help fellow men.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Did you, just for example, starting up Bridge of Dawn, did you get help for the authorities or anything like that, or was it just it was needed and you started it up?
We've had a wee bit of financial help, but when we started off, we didn't have anything. No, we started off just meeting up in an office's premises that we got allowed to be in Bridge of Dawn until we're actually able to get established after about 4 years with our own premises and build up from there. We try to raise funds through doing different activities in other groups, and it took a while to become financially stable, to have the type of premises we've got where people are able to do activities. But the thing is, it was still a hard battle just to get people to come to you to build up a membership, and unless people really know about you, or somebody else, if somebody goes to the doctors or somebody goes somewhere else, who's there to direct them and say, like, no, you should maybe, oh, you're into football, go along to kickboxing, no, go along to Andy's Man Club.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just find maybe people are languishing too long, suffering, before they get the chance to find a group that's going to help them.
Just on that thing about going to doctors, I've had a big thing about the doctors. Brilliant and conscientious is fantastic. But I've always said that if someone goes to the doctor looking for help, they give them pills.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that
They're
is
not given. They're not
true.
given a book. So we went to one of the medical centres and had a open day there, and we tried to put all our flyers and cards in, and we try to say to the people that was there, look, if someone comes in, please direct them to us. If we can't help them, we can direct them to somebody else, obviously, because we've got a network of people that obviously would know yourselves and all that. We can direct you to there. Then I just start handing out pills, because in my opinion, pills are the worst thing for getting somebody for depression.
I think as well.
They do help at a certain extent, but I think that meeting people,
It's an easy option for the doctor, though, isn't it?
easy.
It's a
I think
waiting
it's-
list
I
as
think
well
it's
to
the
see
only
somebody.
Yeah.
Ken, like if
Yeah.
they're wanting to hear like some sort of counselling or therapy, it's the backlog and the waiting list. And if somebody's in that dire place, they can't wait 3 to 6 months.
But
Ken,
maybe just coming along to a group like yourselves or a
aye,
group
like
like us
you
to
use,
speak,
aye.
that takes the edge off God forbid, if there was to do anything,
Yes,
it just
aye.
might help them up, just give them up a wee bit extra, a couple of weeks to think about stuff before they could actually get a bit of help. And then they might find that coming along to yourselves and or us or any of them, that helps them so much that they've kind of, oh wait a minute, things aren't as bad as it seems. Then they go back to the doctor and say, no, I feel a wee bit better, I've got this, I've been to Andy's Man Club, or I've been to Men in Mind, or I've been to cut a bit of wood in the shed or something like that. Kind of, I mean, they could do a lot of things. Then the doctor might think, oh, well, wait a minute, why have we not got leaflets from everybody that we could hear in the surgery? So that was one of the things that we spoke about, was to try and get leaflets into surgeries, even just in the tables. Somebody picks it up, maybe he'll look at that. Even if they just go into social media and have a look, and they might think, oh, that's it. Anything's better than somebody sitting in silence and just waiting.
Definitely.
It's
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
The thing with the pills is, so I've always been, self-stigma, going down that road of I'm absolutely not doing it. I watched my mum from a very, very early age. Medication was the only way she got through life. And I say it, without medication, she wouldn't be here. Without others that I've had conversations with over the time, without medication, they wouldn't be there. So I think it's quite a dangerous thing, and I agree 100% agree with what you say in terms of we shouldn't just be going, boom, here we go, oh, I've got this problem, right, there's a pill, there's a subscription. It's about having that option there for those individuals, every single individual. I've been a PT for 13 years, and when I started PT, and we were down for the GP referral scheme in terms of, instead of going to your doctor for all these sort of medical induced sort of ways to help you lose weight, or to help. At that time we were still conversating around with mindset and all these different things. It's go and see, you know, a personal trainer, because physical activity and its correlation to your mental well-being, or to directly to your health. But it just takes time for these things. So 100%, we absolutely need that. And I know that in Aberdeen City, we've now got a bank of, I can't remember their title, what they're called, but it's SAMH funded. So again, it's coming from a charity, not from the government. I think we almost started this question looking at it as to, not necessarily pointing fingers and blame, but like SAMH has been around for 100 years, why have we not fixed this yet? It stems from that government. When we look at the doctors, they're rushed, they're being held to a certain amount of appointments, you're only getting a certain amount of time. They're stretched in terms of what we can, and what we can offer and things like that. But I think the strength in what we do and the power in what we've got is getting out there and almost, I think somebody mentioned sort of brothers in arms earlier on. It doesn't stop with your brotherhood of people that are making each other feel better and pulling each other in the right direction and sharing commonality and experience and driving each other forward. The next step is, let's go and advocate this. Let's go and keep spreading the word. Let's go keep patting each other's kind of organisations on the back and pulling each other in the right direction, because the more and more people we get speaking about it, the faster and faster that decline of that stigma kind of kicks in.
No,
I was at the doctor this morning just to see the nurse about getting some treatment, and I was stuck there in front of the notice board at the seat. There was nothing on the notice board about mental health.
Yeah.
There was nothing about any organisations. I mean, there was very little about other important things as well, but there was just absolutely nothing. And you think, no wonder if you're there just privately wanting to maybe see the doctor, but maybe pick up something and get a wee bit of direction. There was nothing.
It's skin off the, well, I presume it's skin off the surgery's box to hear a pile of cards.
No, absolutely
just sitting
not.
Or up in the notice
Absolutely
board.
not.
There's an action for every one of us. Again,
Well,
some of us have already done it.
trying to get into, like,
But let's not give them an option. Let's just pile them in. Let's go.
No, that's it. And the good thing I've picked up with you guys, you all support each other as well. I mean, you've all got your separate organisations, but you're all working towards one end as well, and helping each other along. And I think you want to give people more options rather than them coming down and saying, well, I can't come to your club because it's a Tuesday and I can't manage Tuesday, so that's I can't manage anything. So highlighting every one of the clubs as well is fantastic. But I do agree with you and every one what you've said here, that you should just go and blitz every doctor's surgery in Aberdeen with your cards, because you never know. Even if one person picks up a card and comes along, that's one person that wouldn't know what to do. Maybe somebody that's struggling, maybe somebody that's contemplating suicide, who knows, coming along to one of your clubs and getting help. You know, it's crazy why they didn't do that. So what can I do if I'm worried about my mental health? What's my first step?
I would say look online, look social media. We've got groups here that you can go online. We've all got social media groups. You can all join the page. You can see what it's about. Then reach out to someone.
Yeah.
Don't sit in silence. Go
No.
and speak to someone. Even if it's easy to send a message to somebody. You're not face to face. Just send a message. That person, I presume from it's all the same, will get back to you within time and as soon as they can, and I take it from there. And you wanna regret it. You'll always look forward to doing it.
I think acknowledgement is the first thing.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah, I think that we talked about this, and when I did the changing room training as well, that by the time you walk into that place, and I suppose with the same with any one of your places, there are about 5 steps along the line, because you're acknowledging it, then you're doing something about it, you're getting in touch with it, then you're actually leaving your house to go there, you're crossing the threshold, and then you're into the club. So that's 5 steps along the line you are. And people think, oh, I've just come in the other day, but that's 5 big steps that you've made. First of all, as you say, realization and realizing that you need help or you've got a problem, and getting in touch with people. So would you say to get in touch with the doctor first, or I mean, I know we've had this discussion about the doctor, but
I think asking for help.
Yeah.
Whether that be like a friend or somebody you can reach out to, or even one of the groups, one of us here. It's asking for help, and being scared to ask for help. But so many, like, I guess it kind of comes back to what we were saying. you think you're the only one in it, in the eye of the storm, but you're nae. There's other people out there that are suffering as well. But it's taking, as you've kind of intimated, taking that action and that baby steps.
Yeah.
No matter how little it is, but I think asking for help or telling somebody you're close with, look, I'm struggling, and I'm struggling with this, and could you meet me for a coffee, go for a walk, get out in nature, with one of your pals, and just talk, just get it off your chest.
I found that walk and talk's very, very powerful. And we've done that with a couple of things that not just with mental health, but I did it with my wife as well. We just went and spoke, just went for a walk and spoke. You're taken out of the atmosphere you're in. You're not having to face somebody. And I think it's really, really powerful that, and you get a lot of sort of people who will open up more then. Would you find that as well?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Andy's Man Club, for example, we meet every Monday evening up at the Northfield Community Centre, but we don't meet on bank holidays, and that's UK wide, 180 clubs plus wide. But
Wow,
we often do
that's,
walking talks, on a Monday on the bank holidays, and they can be useful as well, just getting people out.
So I'll flip this around then. I'm worried with somebody's mental health. How can I help? Point them to you, or
Listen to them.
yes,
Listen, yeah.
that's
Just
very
be a
important.
listening ear, and even if you're sitting in silence with them,
100%.
I think they don't need to say anything to you. If they're sitting in silence with you, just for you to sit with them in their turmoil, if you will.
I
in
think
their
it's
suffering.
just as important to speak as it is to listen.
Aye,
They're on the
absolutely.
same card.
And encourage that it's okay to talk. There's nothing, too embarrassing. I mean, again, for example, at the clubs we go to on a Monday, whichever evening that people meet on, there's nothing that I ever heard at one of those clubs, and it's okay to talk about anything, just whatever is bothering you, just get it off your chest.
Yeah, because the myth is that men needing help are weak, and that's just debunked. We've just debunked that in this last 40 minutes or so.
That's for the strength is.
Yeah.
I would say that
I think-
depression is the curse of the strong.
Yeah. I think also that people need to understand there's two streams here. People go to the doctor and end up going down the clinical stream, which is different. It's tablets and maybe going to specialists or getting consultations. But this is a different stream. It's a non-clinical stream. It's friendship, it's social, it's just listening and guys coming along and just actually being with somebody instead of being on their own.
Yeah.
It's that human touch, and I think it's a thing that since COVID has been lacking. A lot of the kind of social skills that we once had as individuals has kind of been suppressed.
And the thing is, teenagers are growing up like that as well, and teenagers are going to grow up with limited social skills because over the 4 years of COVID, and then they're going to get into sort of adolescence, and they're going to come through the same problems as well once they start working as well. So it's going to be a vicious circle as well.
I think COVID's got a big part to do with that as well, but I think as well with the rise of technology and social media, we're not really meeting face to face.
No.
We're not really that kind of social skills, being able to talk to somebody, like. Back when I was a kid, you had no other option but to go out and play Kirby or go out on your bike or play football. You're interacting with people, and you're going round to your pal's house. You're interacting with adults as well, But now it's all just I'll speak to my mate on a headset when I'm playing Fortnite, or I'll text him. Or
the worst thing for me was getting kept in. If you get kept in,
you get grounded.
That was the end of the world.
Yeah, it's like
no,
people
people
It's using your phone. You
Mhm.
get what I mean? But I
Yeah.
think it's really important that as we look at the next generation, is how do we tackle these same topics, but in that platform, because there's no escaping it. It's not going to change.
No,
it's not going away.
That's it. It's right.
So it's how do we utilise those things to get through to them? And AFC with the grassroots soccer programme, we did that. We worked with S1s, and we're actively working with S1s across every S1 across certain schools where they've got that funding available for it. AFC Community Trust go in and they deliver that project
The mindset program.
The mindset program.
Yeah.
And honestly, having been part of that and facilitated that, and honestly, these young people that were not really given much of a credit at the minute in terms of how they do it, but they're still at that malleable sort of age. The way they pick up these topics, the way they look at things like being able to show empathy, and with so many successes where we were delivering these hard-hitting topics to these young people in a good way, and they were coming and they were talking to us, and we were creating a safe space for them to come and talk, and you were actually sending them away home, being able to listen. Before we started this question, is they're able to listen to their parents, they're able to support, they're able to help, and that just two-way street sort of kicks in. Like coming back to like the listening thing, it's, you know, a lot of people will shy away from having a mental health conversation with a friend, and just pat them on the back and say it's okay, and that comes from that level of anxiety or fear that they're going to say or do something wrong. You cannot say or do something wrong. You didn't have to say anything. You just need to be there and listen. And I think another important part is if you do choose to speak to somebody, I've heard some horror stories, if you do choose to speak to somebody and it flips and it doesn't go the way you want it to go, then let that be the end of it. Then let that stop you from speaking. There's so many different ways. In the same way as if that project doesn't work for you, and this might, is keep going. I was speaking to my sister about counselling, and she was like, it's no work for me. I was at my counselling session this morning. It's my second bit of counselling I've ever done in my life, and I went this morning for other stuff that I'm going through in my life at the minute, and I was heartbroken to speak to her, and she was struggling, and I was like, try this. Oh, I've tried that, it didn't work for me. It was like, you maybe just didn't get that connection with that person. Try again, or do something different. You know, I live my life, my poster is up on my wall, that 5 ways to better wellbeing.
I remember you telling us about that,
It's always there along with my first cohort of the changing rooms, although I'm not in it because I had bloody COVID. But it's up here in my wall in my office, and I look at it every day, and it's just trying to practice one of those 5 better ways, you know, and one of that's listening. How good did every one of us in the room feel when you leave a session and you've allowed somebody that hasn't spoke for 6 weeks and they've wrote it down. We'd one guy who was like, I can't journal. Somebody else in the group had presented an idea of, this might work for you, try it. He's like, trauma induced. He was like, no way. I've spent my whole life being told I'm not good enough. My teachers tell me I can't write. My ma told me I was useless and I can't even read my own writing. And he was like, but we were like, I need to read it. You need to read it, and that's it. You know, so it's just
you guys, I tell you, take my hat off to you guys. We're going to wrap up by you just go around the table and just tell us about you, a little bit about when you meet and when your clubs meet and how people can get in touch, and we'll do a little bit at the end as well, when we'll put a thing up with all the phone numbers and that. So if we just start there, with the where do you meet?
So we meet at Cove Rangers Balmoral Stadium every Thursday at 6:30, Men in Mind. So come
and
along.
everybody's welcome to come along.
Everybody's welcome, over 18. So everybody's welcome. Yeah.
And you're on social media as well.
On social media,
Brilliant.
Facebook, Instagram. Yeah. So you can keep up with us there. We're quite active in terms of kind of posting on our socials
That's
as well.
good.
And
That's good.
we're looking at doing a few social activities with our members and that as well. But come along for a coffee and a chat, and
Brilliant.
Come along and listen, speak.
Or dinner speak.
Or dinner speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, just whatever you feel comfortable with. We're there.
Fantastic. And Bridget Dawn?
Bridget Dawn Men's Shed. We're open 9 to 12 Monday to Friday in the mornings. Anybody's welcome to come along, just any time. There's no start time. People can just appear, see if it suits them, help out, have a chat. There's always somebody there willing to show you around. You can catch up with us on Facebook for Bridget Dawn and District Men's Shed, and you can use Messenger on there to get in contact with us.
Excellent. Kyle?
Tuesday nights at Pataudry, but unfortunately, unlike some of these other amazing projects, we don't run all the time. You know,
it's a 12-week programme, isn't it?
We go through 12 weeks. That bleeds in nicely to Extra Time project, which is a bit more action induced every second week, and that comes up as well. And from cohort 1 all the way through to cohort 8, we've got, you know, men banding together, and we've created now a sort of a next level sort of group, if you like, called In the Stands, which is about to sort of really kick off, and that's got nothing to do with Movember funding, Scottish Government funding, SAMH involvement. It's got nothing to do with AFC Community Trust. It's the participants led. It's almost like a legacy sort of thing that the participants are driving forward themselves.
Brilliant.
Andy's Man Club in Aberdeen, as I said, there's 180 plus across the UK. We're actually the furthest north when we're looking for additional locations. But the Aberdeen one's held at Northfield Community Centre on Byron Square every Monday, so I'll just be going in now. As I say, apart from bank holidays, just the 8 UK bank holidays, and we normally do something like a walk and talk.
Yeah.
Every other Monday through the year we meet at Northfield.
And finally, you guys?
We're the Kickabout Aberdeen, so we play football on a Tuesday and a Wednesday at 5, St Nelson Street. We start at 8 till 9 playing there. We're on social media, Facebook, Instagram and all that. And if you go onto there, you can contact us through there. Join our page. We've got a friends page which is open to everyone, and we've got a members page which is private just for our members. We are just for dads, granddads and carers. We go on that side of it.
Thanks very much, guys, for coming in. I ken it's difficult to arrange for everybody to come in, but you guys, to me, have opened my eyes for a lot of these things as well. Thank you for sharing your experiences, and most of all, thank you to the listeners who've been impacted by any of these issues raised in the podcast. Remember, and this is important, you're not alone. Help is available, and you can find these services and helplines at the end of our podcast. So I'm just going to sign off now. Thank you very much. This has been Shmu in Focus. I've been Dave Ironside, and we've been talking about men's mental health.